Hello friends, this is like the 9th time I'm trying to do this video for all sorts of different reasons, not least that Mercury and the Sun are close together. I know that when anyone talks like this, they sound crazy, but you can't make this stuff up. Anyway, I will do a separate video on Mercury and the Sun being together. I wanted to talk a little bit about where we are at in this current lunar cycle. Lunar cycles are important. I was playing with a twig, so I'm going to throw the twig away while I talk to you. Lunar cycles, it's always helpful to know where we are at in a lunar cycle. What is a lunar cycle? There's a new moon that happens, 14 days later there's a full moon that happens, and another 14 days later there's a next new moon that happens. So a new moon inaugurates a 28-day cycle. The middle of that 28-day cycle is the full moon. Energy increases after a new moon and culminates at the time of the full moon, and then starts to die out or peter out gradually as we get to the next new moon. Our last new moon was in the sign of Taurus on May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. May the 18th, 14 days later, we had the full moon in Scorpio last week. And June the 3rd, we're going to have the next new moon in Gemini. Once again, because I talk fast. May the 4th, new moon. We're in this cycle till June the 3rd. The May the 4th new moon was in the sign of Taurus, and the June the 3rd new moon will be in the sign of Gemini, and I will talk about the new moon in Gemini on June the 3rd in a separate video altogether. Every new moon starts a 28-day cycle, and so we had a 28-day cycle that started in the sign of Taurus. Does it help to know where Taurus is in your chart and what house it occupies? Yes. But I'm going to do the rest of this video in such a way that even people who do not know or understand astrology at all maybe can take some sort of an assignment away from this and try and piece something together in a way that might be useful for them. I'm doing this video, let me just say up front that I'm doing this video because Venus, the planet that rules Taurus, is in Taurus, the sign that she rules, from May the 15th to June the 8th. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. At least in some part of our horoscope, there's a planet that is in the sign that she rules and loves. And I don't want us to lose sight of that in the middle of all the other distracting things that are occurring right now. And the distracting things specifically would be that we had a full moon last week and some important events related to eclipses perhaps last week and even up till about today that could have distracted from this energy that for about a week and a half after May the 4th was active. And the Sun and Mercury have now moved on into the sign of Gemini to prepare for the next new moon on the 3rd. So there's a set of events that is happening that's looking forward. But again, I don't want to lose out on what it is that Venus in Taurus can bring for us possibly. And so I want us to use the next week and a half to 2 weeks at least keeping some of this energy in mind. Now let me break down the heart or the meat of this video, whatever it is that we want to call it. Let me get to the core of this video. I think that's a more vegan-friendly term. I don't mean that sarcastically. I kind of do, but not really. Let's not refer to organs or meat. Okay. Now, the Sun moved into the sign of Taurus on April the 20th. The Sun moves into the sign of Taurus every year, sometime between April the 19th and the 23rd. This year it was April the 20th. As you know, people who are born between April the 20th or thereabouts and May the 20th are in Sun sign Taurus. They're Taurians, as we call them. The Sun moved into the sign of Taurus on April the 20th, and we had a new moon on May the 4th. At the time of the new moon, the Sun was going through Taurus, and the moon met up with the Sun. From April the 20th then till May the 4th, the Sun was causing us to do a subconscious reflection and to plant seeds and to take some activities, but really to take stock of where we're at, wherever it is that the sign of Taurus is in our chart. But on May the 4th, and I want you to go back to May the 4th and look from May the 4th to about a week and a half after May the 4th, and pay attention to what it is that came to you after May the 4th. A lot of what came to you may have been in the sign of emails and verbal communications and mail and communications. And it may have involved activities that required you to drive around or commute, not long distances, but short local distances to some extent. So see if anything like that correlates. Go back to May the 4th. Pay attention to what it is that may have started up or come to you. You know, the days before a new moon are markedly flat and uneventful. And the days after the new moon, immediately after the new moon, are markedly full of inspiration and new energy and things starting to come to you from the outside. A lot of people use new moons to write affirmations, but I find that things actually subtle, unmistakable, and because this new moon was in Taurus, a sign the moon loves, maybe not so subtle, maybe pretty clear. Does that mean that we all made millions of dollars in this lunar cycle? No, that's not what I'm talking about. But go back to May the 4th, pay attention to what it is that may have come to you or may have started to gather momentum after May the 4th for about a week, week and a half. May the 6th, Mercury, the planet of communication and commuting and short distance travel and transactions, came into the sign of Taurus following the sun. Following the new moon, not the sun, following the new moon. And it could be that starting May the 6th, and even as you head into May the 6th, and this is why I said look to communications, look to emails and mail, and look to transactions, look to interactions to give you a sense of what it is that started around the May the 4th new moon. Now, by the time we got to May the 18th, the full moon in Scorpio, right now the full moons are happening in the sign opposite where the new moon is happening. Sometimes they can differ by another sign. And so necessarily, not only do things that start around the new moon gather some sort of momentum and intensity by the time the full moon happens, they also pull our energy in a related way. That's a subject for an entirely other video or book, practically. In a related way to what it is that the new moon brought, but in the completely opposite energetic sector. So if the new moon was in the part of the chart that has to do with career and you were getting career-related opportunities, it could be that the full moon was in the part of the chart that had to do with home and family. There's a correlation between those events, but the energy is pulled in a completely opposite direction. Plus, as I've mentioned in previous videos, this full moon occurred 2 months before the next, the eclipse on July the 16th. So it had its own set of events that it was bringing forth. Now, coming to Venus. On May the 15th, 3 days before the full moon, Venus entered the sign of Taurus. And she's here till June the 8th. On May the 21st, the Sun and Mercury moved on from Taurus and they moved into Gemini, the next sign. And as I've said, the next new moon will happen on June the 3rd. Let the Sun and Mercury do their thing for now. They're causing a bit of chaos and commotion because I had to do this video 9 times. But, let's focus on Venus and Taurus and not get distracted by the Sun and Mercury in Gemini too much. Venus rules Taurus. Venus broadly stands for, among certain things that are attributed to her, like beauty and artistic and creative activities. Venus broadly rules 2 things: our sense of abundance and money and luxuries and the enjoyment of the good things in life, and relationships. And Venus rules 2 signs, the sign of Taurus and the sign of Libra. So when it comes to the abundance and fertility and fecundity and the earth and enjoying the beautiful things in life and having a certain amount of money or resources or things that are in your name or an enjoyment of resources or abundance, the sign of Taurus, which is often considered a monetary sign, your income, money in your name. What is it that you own? What is it that you possess? Do you enjoy it? Money coming into you, sometimes expenses, luxuries. The sign of Taurus is very much correlated to a sense of abundance and a sense of creating financial stability and a sense of trying to fix and give you what it is that you need in terms of resources for your journey. And the sign of Libra, which is the second sign that Venus rules, focuses on the relationship side of things. Now, certain things related to beauty and femininity and the female side of things, all of that kind of shows up wherever Venus is going. It's part of her, it follows her, she reflects it, she's the epitome of it in planetary terms, the energetic center of it. But when it comes to the sign of Taurus, also pay attention to whether the last week and a half brought you certain gifts or certain blessings or certain ease or certain help financially to some extent, or maybe in terms of relationships or opportunities. Whatever's brought at this new moon doesn't have to completely grow and manifest into something in this new moon. Indeed, it could manifest at the time of the full moon in Taurus, which I think is going to be in October, November. Do I have that date for you? Oh my God, that would be cool if I did. Hold on a second, people. Hold on a second, November the 12th. So it could be that something that came up after, hey, I didn't think I would share that with you, but it could be that something that started around May the 4th comes to some sort of culmination around November the 12th. New moon in Taurus, full moon in Taurus. But with Venus here, with the energies of last week's full moon still creating an impact, with the energies of Mercury retrograde in Pisces and crises in 2015 and 2016, particularly 2016, still creating an impact, with the energies of the Sun and Mercury moving into Gemini creating an impact, do not forget to take advantage of Venus being in Taurus. That is a helicopter above me, and I am not doing this video a 10th time. Venus's presence in Taurus could allow you to make the most of, however you choose to do so, opportunities or things that came to you in the week and a half or so after May the 4th. Do you have communications you need to send out? Is there something you need to get done? Is there a certain amount of goal setting you need to do? Does something come to completion or fruition? Even though it's going to come to things like there's going to be a larger sense of completion and fruition in November, Venus in Taurus is a blessing. And as we have another week and a half in this Taurus lunar cycle, really know that this playful thing that we've been saying, may the 4th be with you, may the force be with you, the force really is with you right now when it comes to the new moon on May the 4th till June the 8th. So carve out some part of your day, if you can, an hour a day, to build, grow, develop, nurture, fertilize. I'm using very Taurian terms. Water. The seeds that have been planted over the last 2.5 weeks, but particularly that week and a half after May the 4th. Okay, let me bring this to a close. Exercise number 1, go back to May the 4th and identify things that came to you or started, especially if they feel thematically linked, for about a week and a half after May the 4th. Step number 2, reflect on whether some of these things were brewing energetically, at least since April the 20th. Step number 3, and most importantly, see if between now and the next new moon on June the 3rd, but even till June the 8th, you can't take some sort of stabilizing, fertilizing, growing, nurturing action to these things that came to you. You do not have to become, there's a difference between nurturing and stalking. There's a difference between nurturing and letting something grow and giving it the right amount of energy and pushing or grabbing or being impatient. Taurus is not an impatient sign. Taurus is about letting things take root and letting the shoots come up from the soil and reach for the sun and start to grow and start to become abundant. So if you take that metaphor and you take a look at the things that happened a week and a half or so after May the 4th, what is the subject, what is the theme that binds them? Is there something that you can do for maybe an hour a day while other things are driving you crazy? For an hour a day to continue to grow and invest in them. Another Taurian Venusian word, invest in them. So that while the energy and the force is with you, you can give them a certain amount of energetic and supported boost. And then watch and see what happens by November. Specifically, I had the date right here. Where did the date go? November the 12th. Okay, more videos to come. I hope you find this useful. If you do find this useful or found this useful, feel free to like, share, comment on the video, subscribe to my channel, and my contact information is below. If you're interested in a reading or you want me to help you with something astrology related, we can have a conversation and see what it is that you're after and what it is that we can do. Outside of that, thank you for your time and your interest, and I will be back here soon. Thanks. Bye.